It's the week of NFL free agency, so today we're going to talk about the inverse of that. Taking a look at continuity. Mike Evans signing with the Bucks, Baker Mayfield coming back to the Bucks. For the most part, things not changing there. Besides our offensive coordinator, a key spot to highlight for continuity. Today we're going to draft a team in Underdog's Big Board. We're going to talk about continuity as we go, and of course, I am already in a Big Board draft. And it does look like we have not a lot of regulars in here. I see Hoosier Devo in here, though. Is that the same Hoosier Devo as ours? I would assume there's only one Hoosier Devo I know, but we are, of course, in Underdog draft rooms. Goal today is going to be draft some rookies, draft some free agents, and talk about it all along the way here. And it does look like it is not a heavy regular draft today, so should give us a pristine look at the world of Underdog drafts here in the Big Board. 200K to first place in this one, and I am dealing with my fourth sore throat in a month span, so bear with me. We are picking up the 2-hole here. We did 0RB Friday on Friday, so let's go Christian McCaffrey here today. Well, we'll praise some running backs right and early on. And you want to talk about continuity. The one thing you have to give the Niners credit for, there is a shot that Brandon Ayuk forces his way out of town. He is in a year where this is going to be a spot where he can force a trade out, where they have to ask, or his agents rather, his reps have to ask for a long-term contract. Niners probably don't want to give it up. They're about as capped out as any team in the league. So for Ayuk, he could come back on a 1 year, on that option year, getting paid, I think, like 18 mil, maybe 15, 18 mil, somewhere in that range. Or he can force his way out and get that big 130 mil, 150 mil, 180 mil extension that a guy like Ayuk would get. But I think no matter what, for McCaffrey, the continuity being there for him, he's getting old. That's certainly a risk point. But if you're going to take a trade-off here, being in an offense where you know a guy's going to be getting 5 red zone opportunities a game, a guy's going to be getting over 20 overall opportunities a game, Christian McCaffrey is probably the biggest testament to continuity here, even though I put up Mike Evans on the thumbnail. I think if we're going to talk about continuity, Christian McCaffrey is probably as good an example of continuity and keeping that in place and how it just makes these guys more predictable year to year. So for McCaffrey heading into year 3 of him being on the Niners, I guess year 2.5, if you want to count for him not being on the team for that first part of last year, or I guess the year before last, where he was traded, we're now getting into, him having full run of the offense, full opportunity, full understanding of what to do. I think that's a positive thing for McCaffrey if I'm going to take him here at the 2-hole. Fried bologna sandwich. You're having a tough time on Underdog. I didn't have any issues today, but I'm not sure what you're dealing with. GMs, and what's good, Spags. What's good is another day here of drafts. And I am so I did the stream on Friday, and then after I hopped off the stream, the second I was done, my throat was just killing me. And I was like, did I yell? Because I really didn't feel like I did anything that crazy. I had a good stream, obviously. Had a lot of fun on Friday doing our 0RB Friday. Drafted a nice team if you want to check that one out. Of course, the playlist of all the Splash Play drafts that I do here every day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. are available for you if you want to go check the Splash Play YouTube channel. But I didn't do anything crazy on the stream. So I was like, oh no, is this me getting sick again? And yeah, that is it. So all the dads in chat, all the dads in the Splash Play community, the Squirt Squad have warned me before you would get sick more than you never thought possible. And now I was made it through mostly okay throughout all of the winter. And now in this home stretch of February into March, it's just nonstop. I legit picked up the wife from the train station on Saturday morning and just laid in bed the rest of the day because I could not do anything. I had a fever and aches. Fucking awful, man. But we're back to prime time here for a draft. Looks like there aren't as many familiar names in the draft. May see a more normal draft today. That's the hope here. Got to have some variety, both for myself and for you guys watching it. So that's always the hope here for sure. Family been 6 in September. Yeah, again, the parents know. The parents know. It's one of those things that, when you're a single person, I went a stretch where I stopped taking the subways in New York. I basically stopped getting sick for the most part. An occasional one here and there you get from, I don't know, a random scouser at a bar. But besides that, I wasn't getting sick that often. And now that I'm a parent, it's holy fuck, it's just a constant germ inhabitant in your throat or somewhere else. Who knows what other orifices you're getting germ inhabitants in. No one take any of Spags guys here. Yes, that's right. Now that we're not in a room of regulars, you can't take my guys. Only Hoosier Devo is the one that's a danger to me here. We'll see what he does. He's got Bijan for his first pick, so we're both running back piggies to start it off. I don't foresee taking a second running back in the first 5 rounds here, but we will see what we do here. You're going to click the like button. Got to rewatch. Yes, Sammy cheating on me with Pete. Of course, Pete's got a stream going right now as well. But here we are on Splash Play doing drafts every day. And sometimes we're going to be competing with other streams. Most of the time we're not. That's the main thing here. So I show up and do the drafts Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. So have no fear. If you're here, I'm here. And that's always the goal. Besides when I have jury duty next month, I have to figure out how that's going to go because I don't think I'm getting out of it. I've now postponed it twice. I don't wish to be a servant of the state. I don't want to, I don't like living in Philly. I don't like living in the Pennsylvania area. I don't want to support civic things. If anything, I'd say throw the book at them, throw them in jail. Let's get more Philly people off the streets. So don't put me in jury duty. I'm not equipped. Amon-Ra and Ayuk to this guy. So we'll see who holds up to the 0 RB build and who doesn't. Continuity for Ayuk, definitely a good thing. I would say if he goes back to the Niners. If he doesn't, he's going to be more like a T. Higgins, where we've talked about T. Higgins a lot in the stream over the course of the last few weeks. Of course, reports coming out this morning, though, the big ones that T. Higgins is requesting a trade. Doesn't mean he will be traded. The Bengals don't have to trade him. They can do the standoff, force him to play on the one-year franchise tag. But T. Higgins wanted a long-term deal. Apparently, talks for a long-term deal have not gone off in the last year. He was saying the last time they were talking about a long-term extension was March of 2023. So a bad look for the Bengals. T. Higgins doesn't want to be there. If he does get traded, got to think a Panthers would be live for him. There's one other team I saw, the Broncos may be live. I guess I don't think they got rid of Jerry Jeudy. We'll talk about more of that as we go. So we have our Christian McCaffrey. Really don't need another running back. The world's our oyster here. I mean, I feel like if I'm talking about continuity today, I'm going to take the continuity all-stars. I think Mike Evans is going to be a little bit, is he undervalued? I think he's undervalued because going back to Tampa Bay was still probably one of the best outcomes for him. The way he was used in Tampa Bay last year, being really the main target. Chris Godwin was kind of an afterthought. And that's not a surprise given how Baker Mayfield's played in the past. He's a very willing, very aggressive downfield thrower, even though success for him has been hit or miss there, depending on the team, depending on the coaching staff. And also the wide receivers around him, the talent around him. But I think to be going back to Tampa Bay, to be getting the same situation, Evans, we saw have really big upside week to week. So, do I expect him to have the same year over the course of the entire year? Maybe not. But in terms of being able to give me 30-point days 5 times in a year, I think Evans is still there. So him at pick 23, I'm happy to get him, even though the 29 ADP is a little bit more logical to take him at for sure. Tank Dell, I wouldn't mind here. DK Metcalf, getting Lockett back, I think Metcalf should probably come down a few points in ADP just because of that. Not big on Rashee Rice. Nothing I've heard this offseason has encouraged me in a different direction about that one. I'm going to take another high upside guy and go Tank Dell. So team so far, Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans, and Tank Dell. Is Baker a comfy late click? I don't know that he's comfy, but he really did. It was one of the biggest baffling things if you were following these Spags rankings videos last year before got to the fantasy football playoffs. We just kind of cut him off because there wasn't a logic in continuing to do them every week. They weren't moving around that much at that point. But Baker was, for me, in terms of like the EPA per dropback, in terms of the amount of dropbacks, in terms of the fact that he was rushing 5 times a game, he's one of the better fantasy opportunity QBs out there. And he really did show it down the home stretch with a couple games, I think over the 30s, might have even got to 40 in one game at QB. Though I'm talking out my ass in that one. I think 30s definitely he got there. But for Baker, I think he showed a good amount last year. Now he's getting paid $30 million this season and $20 million guaranteed next year. So I think for Baker, he's in a good situation. He's appropriately valued. He's got all the leash in the world where they're not going to take the job away from him because they're paying him too much money. And he's got guys that I think he gave a second win to. Like Mike Evans, you gave him the wrong QB going from Tom Brady. That could have gone really badly. If you gave him Bryce Young last year, it would have been a really ugly situation for Mike Evans where he just would have not been getting the ball, would have had under 1,000 yards. It would have been a terrible scene. But they got Baker and made it work. So I think for both those guys, they're probably, again, 2 of the safer parts that I don't think it's going to get a lot worse. I think they're going to be in the NFC title game next year, but I don't think it's going to get a lot worse. AR and McCaff just sound so lovey. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hard to expect AR to come back to be in any room, but we'll figure it out. I thought I was pulling the Pittman trigger. Yes, that's possible. Look, I don't mind Pittman. I think I have enough concern that the Colts bring in somebody else there that can be an alpha target earner. If they bring in a Brian Thomas and he's the guy who comes outside and replaces Alec Pierce, who takes a lot of work away from Alec Pierce, that's not good. If they bring in Brock Bowers, that's another thing that's probably not good for Michael Pittman, especially because Bowers and Pittman work a lot in the same range, being those kind of lower A-dot guys. So I like Pittman still. I don't have an issue with him. He's going to be back there, whether it's on the franchise tag or them figuring out a long-term deal. But I think for Pittman, it's just, I think they're going to do some things that upset that target tree. And a lot of his benefit last year was just being the only guy who was able to reliably get targets every game. But that's how I feel about it, at least. Happy to see the Patriots will take a QB. MHJ to the Cardinals is sexy. It does seem now like as long as the Patriots like one of Jaden Daniels or Drake May or both, does seem like one of them going to be going number 3. Other big trade of the weekend besides Jerry Jeudy was in fact the trade of Mac Jones going to Jacksonville and now be the backup. So they will not be relying on CJ Beathard moving forward. And I guess won't be feeling as pressed to have to put Trevor Lawrence into games like they did last year. He was clearly hurt, played through it because they would have absolutely had a good shot to lose with CJ Beathard. So I don't know that Mac Jones is that much better than CJ Beathard practically, but he'll get a shot to be better. So trade makes sense. And certainly the Patriots got to think they are going to be live for Jaden Daniels. Or, it would not shock me still, them trading and getting JJ McCarthy a little bit later, but still in the top 10, I think is there. Them taking McCarthy at 3, I think still there. McCarthy just feels like a Patriots kind of QB to me. Guy is not going to completely upset the apple cart. He's not going to throw egregious picks. Maybe you question the upside a little bit, but I think that with the Patriots having enough of a vestigial part of the last organization that they're still going to be there and go, like, look at a guy like Jane Daniels, and with all the advanced analytics looking great for Jane Daniels, they'll go, he takes sacks a little bit too much. A few interceptable balls, not great. And if they talk themselves into McCarthy because he just ran a very kind of close to the vest offense for Michigan, I think that's absolutely something I could see the Patriots doing. Mari at 41, tour guy, Hoosier Devo. I just don't think that's great value. I have to say for Hoosier Devo, I like the 2 running back picks, but I don't think reaching for Drake London, reaching for Amari Cooper, when Cooper should be going the opposite way, is the best way to dig out of a bimodal early RB start. Cooper, to me, I think should probably, with Jeudy being there, just how markets work, he should probably be down to 49, 50 range. Because that's a big thing to happen. Adding him, still having Elijah Moore, still having David Njoku, still having the running backs there. Nick Chubb probably going to be out on the PUP list for a little bit, but you're going to get him back at some point. Until then, you'll have Jerome Ford. And it's also going to be Deshaun running a few more times a game, dropping back a few less than Joe Flacco did. So there's a lot of things there that I don't think you should be reaching for Amari Cooper right now. Personally, I get it, but I just don't think that's the move. I've talked about it a lot here, and this is going to be the opposite of continuity. But I think Terry McLaurin is a solid pick, again, at this range. Terry McLaurin going to benefit if it's Drake May, if it's Jaden Daniels. To me, I think Terry McLaurin should be in the mid-40s. I think he should be ahead. I think he's going to end up ahead of Reed and Odunze. I guess practically, I don't know that he should be ahead of them, but I think he should be at this 47 range. I would put him above these running backs here. McLaurin, this is the best shot for him to take a leap here. He's already got a contract like a superstar receiver. Now's the time to pay that off. And frankly, I like this contract with this team where we have McCaffrey, very solid base at running back, and a very high potential of alternating spike weeks here at receiver to start. And some floor as well for these guys too. All right, 0130 here. McCaffrey, Evans, Tank, McLaurin. Could go get Addison. Wide receiver is going to get very ugly very fast coming up. Could take another running back. Could take Mark Andrews. Lean on the continuity there in Baltimore. Could also just shoot for the moon here. Take Anthony Richardson instead of CJ Stroud. I think most people here would have Stroud with Tank Dell. I'll go AR for the sheer floor at the position and the sheer ceiling. So my team so far not stacked up yet. Anthony Richardson, Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin. Guys I was considering taking here included Mark Andrews. I think that would have been an okay pick. Stroud would have been okay with Tank Dell. Didn't really want any of the running backs given that we have McCaffrey. Was thinking about coming up and getting Brian Thomas, but I think that would have been a little bit of a reach. Brian Thomas would be a good wide receiver for this team, but probably not at pick 50. Here we go. Still like Amari. Jeudy will be hurt by week 2. Jeudy wasn't hurt at all last year. He just sucked, but he wasn't hurt. When you say reach, does that mean based on how you value a player, based on the market/ADP? Market/ADP. Even though you should be, again, I'm the 9th loosest drafter out of all the 150 maxes, according to our guy Brick75, Brian Hooper's data from BBM last year. So I'm certainly not opposed to reaching here and there. But if you keep doing it over and over again, especially at one position, you're just putting yourself in a pocket with teams that got these guys' values. So when you take Drake London and Amari Cooper, Drake London in the big board was going in the late 30s, early 40s for large portions of the draft. Amari was going in the mid 40s to 50s in large portions of the draft. And now these guys have, well, especially for Cooper now has bad signal for him where you added another body in there who's going to take targets away from him. Whatever you want to say about Judy, it's a much bigger upgrade than Cedric Tillman, than David Bell, than these guys were rotating in last year. So like you're then taking Cooper at a higher point when he should be going the wrong way. That's what I'm talking about. Like you're making a couple things, a couple compounding mistakes there that are making your team more likely to get duped with guys who got drafted later. Like that's sort of the thing. Where are you comfortable taking Pickens now? What is his current ADP? ADP is 61. I mean, the trade of Deontay Johnson would be good for him. I guess the thing you could sort of critique about that would be if they trade Deontay Johnson, George Pickens is just, Drake London last year in Atlanta offense that was not that good with Arthur Smith. That we do believe on this channel, the hope is that Arthur Smith being able to focus just on being offensive coordinator. Some guys aren't meant to be the CEO of a team. Some guys are meant to just be a guy who's a part of that. I think that for Arthur Smith, that's the hope. But for Pickens, it seems like the best outcome is literally him being Drake London last year. And I think he's probably okay in the 60s, but you're kind of paying a premium. Like you're already paying the assumption that Deontay is not there, I feel like, for him in the 60s. And I like Pickens, I like a lot. Like talent-wise, you guys know Pickens was one of my big guys last year. He and Christian Watson, I would say that both showed enough to justify why I backed them last year. Pickens in particular on the home stretch was a guy that actually did, win. I think he was on the BBM winning team with our guy Fareed. So for Pickens, I think that he showed a good amount last year. It's just like this is another bad run out for him. I also think too, while we're talking about the Steelers, so people are going to now like crown Russell Wilson the starter in Pittsburgh. He's coming in on a 1-year minimum deal. This is the kind of thing that a team like Pittsburgh, who has the same front office who drafted Kenny Pickett, has the same head coaching staff, not the entire coaching staff, but has the same head coach who drafted Kenny Pickett. I think they're bringing in Russell Wilson as a potential fall guy for Kenny Pickett, where you show like, oh, like Pickett beat out Russell Wilson in camp and he looked so good. And like you try to keep him going again. Because you have to remember last year, all the offseason talk was how much this team liked Kenny Pickett, how great of a guy he was, how great of a locker room leader he was. Then it all went to shit over the course of a year. But like they know, they fired Matt Canada. I think the blame is firmly at his feet. I just don't think this Russ thing, like I wouldn't draft Russ and go and put him in Pittsburgh stacks. I frankly probably wouldn't even draft a Pittsburgh QB if I have Pickens, if I have Freiermuth. I would avoid the Pittsburgh situation for now. Like there's a shot that Russ could be a Baker Mayfield. There's also a shot that Pickett, I don't think he's going to be good no matter what next year. I guess this shot would be like he can be, a high teens scoring QB, maybe into the 20s like Desmond Ridder was occasionally last year. But he's not as mobile as Ridder, and Ridder kind of got there with a rushing touchdown occasionally, a little bit of rushing yardage occasionally. So I don't know. I think the Pittsburgh outcomes are not great overall for really all these guys. He's an undervalued 1,100-yard receiver on the 31st ranked offense. Have to imagine Russ is an upgrade. But that's assuming in that Russ is going to be the upgrade. And like with what they're paying him, I don't think you can assume that. 1130 here. Can really just think that we can get ahead at wide receiver by taking Christian Watson as my wide receiver 4. Obviously, Watson, if he comes up in ADP, I think we're starting to feel a little bit less great about him. But Watson, to me, still showed enough last year. He is still the biggest, most athletic guy in that wide receiving room. I think that matters. And another year of experience. We're now heading into year 3 for him. That also matters to me in terms of how I'm valuing guys. So 1140 here. We've got this bet on Green Bay. Aaron Jones now a bit of a discount. Could also reach up at wide receiver, though. That's getting kind of ugly as well. I'm just going to take the value on Aaron Jones here. Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones start. I don't mind. At QB, we're getting Anthony Richardson at QB, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones at running back, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, and Christian Watson at wide receiver, and a tight end. I do feel like this wide receiver room suffered a little bit from that first round pick being Christian McCaffrey. Still don't mind it, though. Think we got good upside for taking 4 wide receivers after the first round, and then also having one more deviation for AR. So I can live with the room. Could be better. Russ is trying to get a Baker contract. So Russ's thing was that initially he was willing to take that minimum offer because he thought that would guarantee him a starting job, but he's not getting guaranteed a starting job. And there's been a lot of signal. Obviously, the Steelers immediately went against it by bringing Russ in and then signing him. But like, there's been a lot of signal that they were going to be happy to go back into next year with Kenny Pickett, with Mason Rudolph, and have those guys compete. And now I just don't think that changed. And that was from like Pittsburgh beat guys. That wasn't from like national people who maybe aren't as dialed in. So I kind of think, I just really think that they're bringing Russ in as like elevated Mason Rudolph, and these guys are going to compete. And I still think there is a home field advantage for Kenny Pickett because all the guys who drafted him are still there. Like they don't want to look like idiots for Kenny Pickett being that big of a bust. And I guess, you could throw the baby out with the Matt Canada bathwater, but that's not how NFL teams usually work. So I think there's a sunk cost fallacy with Kenny Pickett that I think they're going to chase, that they're more likely to chase. That is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking hopefully some of our guys will be available a little bit cheaper than usual in Splash Play friends and family rooms, but we will see. Guys, if you're watching live or after the fact, please do subscribe down below. Splash Play, again, a one-person channel here, an independent shop, trying to grow every day by doing drafts Monday to Friday at 11 a.m., bringing you the best info, bringing you the best draft strategy and takes as well. And also, I keep an eye on everything as best I can to make sure I'm talking about things intelligently instead of out of my ass. Some of the channels out there do. So subscribe down below, hit the like button. And of course, this is basically my job right now. It's this and probably. So the more you help me out here, the more you hit that like button, the more we get seen by more people, and the more we can help this channel grow. And frankly, if this channel gets enough views and starts moving in the right direction, making enough money, I'm not opposed to bringing on other streamers, not opposed to bringing on other stuff to give you guys more content on here. So, or even doing basketball. If we get enough, if there's enough things going on here, then we can always do more on Splash Play, but help me grow the channel and good things will come. And of course, join button down below as well, $4.99 a month if you want to support the channel directly, under $5 a month to help support the channel, and of course, get premium content. And I forgot to mention too, if you haven't gotten in the 5 stars and review for Probably, we're going to do the giveaway of a guest hosting spot this Friday. So Bindles, I know, left a comment, then that comment disappeared. The App Store review stuff is weird, but we do have a couple entries in there for Mathology, Chunk the Deuce, and I'll count Bindles too. But make sure to leave 5 stars and a review for Probably on the App Store if you want to get entered to win a guest hosting spot. And if you just want good betting data, check out Probly as well. 7-day free trial on the App Store or 50% off with the promo code SPLASH at probably.com/subscribe. But our results for Probably have been insane. And before I pick see, Hoosier Divos takes Troy Franklin 89. You give one fucking regular the room, they're still going to do regular shit. So we don't get Troy Franklin at a discount like I was hoping. I'll make my pick and do my Probably show later. I don't want any of you guys in my rooms. I love your support. I love your enthusiasm for being in drafts. That's precisely why I don't want you in my rooms. You went up to get Troy Franklin when Dobbs is here, when Johnson is here. Duh, I appreciate Hoosier Diva listening to me and listening to my love for Troy Franklin. But fuck, man. Just can't get a full normal room. Yes, kills the soul every fucking time. I just want normal drafts. I want normal drafts and I get the normal perks of a person drafting. I lose EV by drafting with you guys. They'll tell you unpretentious socks wasn't going to take them. 1-2-4-0 here. We'll get Josh Downs for our AR stack. Fucking Hoosier Devo, man. So look, Captain Osmo, when it happens to you every draft this is draft 30 for me. And it's happened more than 30 times. So test your sanity here. Launch a channel, do it for years, build it up to the point that people then start following your advice too literally and reaching for guys ahead of ADP. But Hoosier Devo's wide receivers were ass anyway, so he needed it. Christ. There you go. That's the trade-off. I'm glad. Really happy for all of it. Tony Pollard's still on the board. Cortland Sutton likely getting traded out of Denver. Adonai Mitchell, we'll take him. Well, will we? I just don't think Josh Downs is a fantastic pick reaching for him. And Njoku, does Njoku do anything for me here? Njoku's not a bad tight end in the spot. After ADP, we'll take Njoku. I'm glad it's your favorite part. Been trying not to do it lately because I get it. It's fucking tedious because I know it's tedious for me. So I'm trying not to do it, but fuck. What? To be clear, I meant at the usual price tag. Hoosier Devo, I think you got to take a lap. Hoosier Devo, I appreciate being a paid member here, but take a lap. 5-minute timeout for Hoosier Devo. Troy Franklin goes at pick 89 here. Troy Franklin's normal ADP now, pick 99. So passed up multiple receivers going ahead of an ADP to take a guy that I have caped for since day one here on Splash Play. That gets you a 5-minute timeout. Run a lap. There we go. Yeah, this isn't, I guess that's true. And even if you don't want me to win, nobody's tuning in to see who's your Devo make great picks. Like that's fundamentally the main thing here. So it's not a collusion draft room, but it's like I'm getting the opposite of collusion draft rooms where it's like I get people who it's like, oh, here are the guys, here's the fucking secret intel. Like, don't worry about the combine times for Troy Franklin, still over an 8 RAS. I'm talking you off the ledge while the rest of the markets are going the opposite way. And then you take the guy in the draft room. That's like the worst possible joys. And Cortland Sutton goes to 103. You compare Troy Franklin, like I think Franklin to me, relatively level to Xavier Worthy, relatively level to Adonai Mitchell because those guys had the freak athletic combines. So like those guys are okay. Khalil Shakir, combine reports are that he's not going to be the wide receiver 2. Buffalo wants to upgrade that spot, so he's going to be the wide receiver 3. Cortland Sutton, going to likely get traded. Tyler Lockett, probably undervalued, likely going to be back for the next 2 years, $15 million a year for him in Seattle. So that's pretty much it. What team am I hoping Franklin lands on? Worry that his ADP is predicting he goes late round 1. But if he lands on shitty team round 2, but like his profile, somebody could trade up. Like you got to remember top of round 2, like those guys get moved around a lot. So for Troy Franklin, the hope is definitely still KC, Houston, Buffalo. Those are always going to be the 3 I think you're rooting for the most. Carolina, I think, is very live to get a T. Higgins type. But like, I really think that there's a lot of outs for Troy Franklin. You want him to go somewhere, though, where it's like high upside offense, where he's the MVS or Gabe Davis kind of replacement, or you want him to go somewhere where it's an empty target tree. Like that's going to be the case for pretty much anybody. So Franklin went to Carolina. Even if he went to Carolina with T. Higgins, like I think that he's probably a pretty big upgrade on everything else they had there. Like Troy Franklin's like the 99th percentile outcome for Terrace Marshall as like a player, even though I feel bad about that. Terrace Marshall I did like last year, but he just did not get a shot with the new coaching staff and new front office coming in. Thank you, Matthew. I agree. Charles Spags has another drafts. It's just funny to me, like, and who's your Devo again? Really not great draft picks. So like he needed it, but it's just like, come on, man. Whatever. I was gonna chafe my ass for a little bit longer. We'll move on. Sim, you haven't or won't be doing any MLB best ball drafts? No, I did like 5 last year, and I just don't care. I have such limited time right now between the probably stuff and then this, and I've been playing NBA DFS every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when they have the $4 150 max. So like those are my gambling things. Like I don't, I like best ball for football. For other sports, I don't feel the need to play best ball for the sake of playing best ball. I guess the best way to put that. I know a lot of you guys feel differently, so go check out the Bad Pros. Obviously, been doing a great job with MLB all off season long, but yeah, for me, it's not a focal point. I'm a football guy who also has a lot of success in basketball and really enjoys basketball. Did a draft at 1 a.m. Friday night. Some guy took 7 QBs. That's not a shocker at all. That is not a shocker. Drunk drafts will do that. All right, a 1-2-5-1 here. Man, some nice QB plays available. Oh, we could. No, well, you know what? I'm going to take Chase Brown as one of these picks. Still going to try to play the outcome that Mixon doesn't come back, even though, much like Alvin Kamara, there is still a shot that Mixon takes a reduced contract yet again, renegotiates, just to avoid losing a job, because guys like Mixon, guys like Kamara, you don't want to be in the free agent class with all the bigger name backs that are out there. And I'm going to take Jaden Daniels with pick number 2 here. I think we are hopefully getting one potential outcome for Washington. It is more likely that Drake May goes number 2 to Washington, I would say, but I'm still going to take some Jaden Daniels with Terry McLaurin because I think both Drake May, both Jaden Daniels, the net for Terry McLaurin is going to be the same. Let's see. Garrett Cole needs an MRI in his pitching elbow. Oh, there we go. Garrett Cole, man, ever since they got rid of the Gorilla Glue stuff on balls, I feel like it was all downhill for him. Loving this QB. I mean, look, Jaden Daniels and AR, really 2 very strong plays to me. I think with the rushing ability there for both guys, Jaden Daniels ran over 10 times a game last year in college. AR ran over 8 in college and then kept at about 7 and 8 last year in the pros. I could look it up, but I'm not going to right now. So these guys to me, big floors, guys who get downfield, guys who are very good, who are going to run a lot. Like those are the main things you look for in fantasy. Guys who are willing deep ball throwers and guys who run a lot. Drake May, the year before last, was a guy who threw the ball deep a lot and also ran a lot. This past year, though, whether it be a business decision because of him going to the NFL draft, whether it be because of the fact that, maybe Carolina didn't want him to run as much because he was their entire offense, Drake May did not run as much this year. So I'm not entirely sure how to break down a Drake May on that front. Kind of think that he made a business decision this year. And I would say for Jayden Daniels' credit, Jayden Daniels made the opposite of a business decision this year. He ran more, and some of the runs he took were borderline dangerous. So I'd rather see that personally, but I know people out there go like, oh, the guy runs too much, he's going to get hurt. If you are a person that worries about that, then Jayden Daniels may be a QB not for you. Love Gorilla Glue on balls. I'm sure, sure that would be an awful thing on your actual balls, I would have to assume. All my drafts have been brutal. The only good stacks I have are Mahomes, Pacheco, Purdy, Ayuk, not great. I mean, there's other stacks out there. It's not just like the superstar stacks. It's not all, the ones you're mentioning that are, last year Super Bowl teams and guys like Hurts and AJ Brown. Like, there are other stacks out there that are fine. And if anything, QB being this flat this year, like, as I mentioned, like a lot of times on stream, I think this pocket right here is one of the best pockets to be drafting in. Obviously, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence. You're not getting a ton of rushing upside there necessarily, but you're getting stacks that are a little bit cheaper. You're getting guys that are on the upswing. And fundamentally, if you're going into week 17, if you have Fields, well, maybe not Fields because he might not have a job, but you have Jared Goff, you have Trevor Lawrence, you have Matthew Stafford as your QBs going into week 17, you're live to beat a team with Josh Allen. You're live to beat a team with Jalen Hurts. You're live to beat a team with Lamar. It's like QB is one of those things that people really love the early security at QB, but in reality, you could be getting stacks late, getting QBs late, and like you're still live. As long as you're not taking the Kenny Pickett tier of QBs, like you're fine. Love stack is super easy. It's hard to predict which Packers receivers end up popping up each week. Yeah, that's the thing is there are going to be a lot of trading off of weeks, and they mentioned at the Combine that's a deliberate thing where they want Jaden Reed to be going off one week. They want Watson. They want Dobbs. They want Wicks. They want guys to be trading Musgrave. They want them all to be able to do that. And that's probably too how Jordan Love becomes the best QB he could possibly be too. So the Packers thing, like I agree, like fundamentally you could be going into week 17 if you were to make it there with a minus EV Packers stack going up against the chalk of like Jaden Reed or whatever. But in week 17, like you could see Jordan Love with Musgrave and Wicks beat out Jordan Love with Watson and Reed, just because that's how the DFS part of that works. The week to week of it all works. So the plus side of the Packers, like there isn't a wrong stack. The downside of the Packers is like, if you're really trying to get the best Packer stack, you kind of have to commit to taking Reed in the 40s, which still feels a little bit lofty to me. Not a fan of drafting at the ends. 22 chances at an unstacked QB snipe, which usually happens. Yeah, that's fair. Less so on Underdog than on a DraftKings, but I get it. I certainly get the apprehension. I like picking on the ends of turns or at the ends of rounds because I think you could sort of map things out a little bit more. And also, like, it's a little bit less, like, for Who's Your Devo, who we talked about earlier, it's like, if you're at his spot, I think you want values to fall to you a little bit more. And again, you want to be price conscious of stuff that's going on in terms of the meta of how, like, people are going to perceive players and draft them. But I think ultimately, like, if you're in the middle of a round, you kind of scoop up values. If you're at the front end of a round, you're kind of the one who's price checking really big discounts and then also setting the table for the next few picks. So like if you reach for stuff, people probably start to panic and reach a little bit more. I'm still okay taking Kendre. Obviously, Kendre, you're making a bet that Kamara gets cut. Kamara doesn't renegotiate. It is still more likely he renegotiates because guys like him, guys like Mixon don't want to be free agents in this class. But we will see what happens there. Still think Kendre seizes some work this year and was good enough to justify it last year. Marshawn Lloyd, this guy reached up to get. Marshawn Lloyd, a good pick. I could really nail this Washington pick, I think, and go 3 QBs here. And I don't mind that. I'm willing to do that for my team. Drake May, QB3. Do we need a 3 QB team with Richardson and Jayden Daniels? I don't think so. But I'm dead set on getting somebody to correlate with Terry McLaurin, and it's going to be one of these two guys. So Drake May, QB3. Team so far, AR, Jayden Daniels, Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller at running back, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, a wide receiver, and a tight end, David Njoku. I think we need to get some sneaky picks at wide receiver late to make this wide receiver room really pop, but I'm okay with running back. I honestly think running back's pretty good. QB is probably too good, too much draft capital used there. And a tight end in Njoku, I think, is pretty good at the discount we got him. So wide receiver, probably need to chase a little more depth there. It's okay, Who's Your Devo. It's just the main things I would say to you is like just being mindful of like overall pricing, where if you're reaching for two guys, one of whom's going the other direction, you just don't want to do that. And the second part is like if you're just taking my guys 20 picks ahead of ADP, it's just not the most fun for me. But that's okay. You're allowed to do it. It's your legal rights, and I'm going to tilt about it because that's what the process is here. It's a give and take of it all. But I think still in general, like the main thing for anybody out there and why, like I am beating, besides Hoosier Devo taking Troy Franklin 10 picks of ADP for no logical reason, is that in general, like if you make kind of ADP mistakes, like I kind of think in general, you need to worry about getting your ADP stuff under control. And that was a big thing for myself too. Like part of why I'm willing to reach around and grab some guys and stuff is because I prep incredibly hard for this stuff and have a pretty good sense of like guys that I believe will be valued appropriately and all of that. And the second part is that for the most part, I'm trying to scoop values throughout drafts. Like I'm trying to get the David Njoku 10 picks after ADPs. Like I'm trying to do that. So like if you're just reaching and you're kind of going all over the board, I think you're fundamentally not showing that you can draft like the most plus EVUA first. And I think that's one of the things I try to warn people of who come onto the channel where it's like, if you see me draft a certain way, or you see Pete, or you see Bime4 and those guys draft, or Rob on Spike Week drafting a certain way, it's like those guys are doing that because they've done thousands of drafts. I don't know all of your guys' draft counts, especially if you're not a person with a badge. So like you got to really show that you can do the basics first. You got to show you can do the 101 course level work, which is building solid stacks, not reaching all over the place, being conscious of the overall metagame of ADP and how wide receiver coming in affects this guy. Like Amari Cooper fundamentally won't be priced the same way as he was yesterday because Jerry Jeudy's there now. It doesn't matter if Jerry Jeudy's good or not. Doesn't matter if the ceiling doesn't move for Amari Cooper. He's just going to come down because that's how the markets are. The markets are very reactionary. So your job is to like show all that you can do that over and over and over again. And not just for Hoocher Devo, but for anybody. So that's why if I'm like beating up on you, number one, it's because you took my guys. But number two, it's going to be because like I see things that are mistakes and then you're also taking my guys. So it's like, you got to earn that a little bit, at least in my eyes. No, but I'm saying it's a both. But yes, like that's the thing that who is it? The Snowman pointed out a couple weeks ago where like if people are taking my guys in drafts, it means that we've done a good thing. So ultimately, I'm glad that people are willing to tail picks, but like, just like really focus on the core stuff first before like worrying about the fun guys. Like focus on your stacks, focus on ADP values, focus on, setting up things 4 rounds in advance. Like that's the kind of stuff. And, frankly, for my part too, like I should be prioritizing that for you guys too. It's not all player takes. As I've said countless times here, like player takes fundamentally can only carry you so far. Last year, my big board was like all player takes, and it was great to get some guys as values, but you know what? Still didn't make a finalist team with the big board. So it's still about the overall construct and the things you put together around that. So like, that's the main thing. Support the channels we love. There you go. That's why I shouted out some other ones too. Bindles, our guy Bindles does some great streams as well now. But that's the main thing here is just trying to get better at the thing every day. And also, for me too, I should probably be more mindful of the player take stuff. Take a 4th QB with Baker Mayfield at this point after talking about what a sure thing he is. Could do that. Though Kate Otton's gone, so that kind of ruins one little correlation we could have added up. Still don't mind Bucky, as we've talked about, and possible good outcome in free agency for Zach Moss. I'm going to take Zach Moss here. So there's a shot he comes back to Indianapolis as the handcuff change of pace back. Shot that he goes to a Philly as a replacement for DeAndre Swift. Shot he could really go a lot of places because, again, he's not going to price himself out. He was just good enough last year to qualify for some teams out there that need a power back. So I'm willing to go there. Oh, does Curtis Samuel come back to Washington? I feel like he's been on the cusp of getting cut for multiple years now. Don't hate Tez Walker too with the RAS scores, or the RASs that he put up. Scores already in the RAS part of that. Shit. And I wouldn't mind Bucky as an RB6, but we don't really need an RB6, do we? I'm taking Curtis Samuel. No! Baker Mayfield timed out. Fuck! 4 QB build, of course, as we planned all along. 4 QB build. AR, Jane Daniels, Drake May. So look, you don't have to take draft advice from me. I just drafted 4 QBs. I fucked up here. AR, Jane. But honestly, though, I missed out on Curtis Samuel. I'm not going to beat myself up over missing Curtis Samuel. But that's not the way I draft. So I'm happy to get another correlation here. 4-5-5-1. AR, Jane Daniels, Drake May, Baker Mayfield, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, Zach Moss, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, the tight end David Njoku. I don't think we missed out on much. Having 4 QBs is still fundamentally pretty fucking stupid, especially when 2 of the QBs are guys that do have a good floor and a good ceiling, like AR and Daniels. But if Baker Mayfield helps me advance this team because he and Mike Evans went nuts in week 16 it'll pay off and still work. But that was stupid. Who did I just snipe taking that fourth? I sniped myself. I had Mike Evans. So I don't know. Maybe the Chris Godwin guy? Are there even Chris Godwin guys anymore? Where's Chris Godwin? Chris Godwin went pick 80 or pick 62 here. So it's possible. No, but this guy had 2 QBs already. He had Herbert and Fields. He had the 2 Justins for himself. So I don't think I sniped him either. Yeah, it's true. It is Hoosier's fault. Hoosier got in my head and I had to do too much soapboxing about general draft principles to defend myself that I then made awful picks in response. But we'll persevere. I really think I need to go last 5 rounds wide receiver. Need at least one more tight end, though. So probably 4 rounds of wide receiver here. We're going to be digging deep. I think there are some guys we can dig deep with, though. So I can live with this. And we got correlations. Let it never be said I didn't get correlations. I think you could say it went to shit. I think it's fair. Like, it's still not that bad, but the thing, too, is like we lost a lot of guys in this pocket that I would have liked. Leggett now going at a pretty reasonable price tag of 160. He's definitely a guy where I think you could put him in the 140s. I wouldn't hate that. Zay Jones, cut candidate for Jacksonville, not looking great. Demario Douglas. So reports out there for Kendrick Bourne's contract was that it's up to $33 million. The guarantee is much lower than that, so I wouldn't read too much in that Kendrick Bourne contract. But they're bringing back all the guys from last year, it looks like. So Juju, as we talked about before, he's already under contract for next year. Parker, they renegotiated after flirting last year with DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know what they're going to do at wide receiver. Like, it's going to be fucking poor Jaden Daniels is going to get Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, and Juju Smith-Schuster as his 4 wide receivers. That's pretty brutal. Like getting May, Hunter Henry, and Bourne. I just don't think May goes past Washington, but it could be a smokescreen there. We'll see. I just think they're going to like Drake May a little bit more. And I don't think Jane Daniels, in terms of it being, it is like right now, even money odds on DraftKings Sportsbook, I know, for the bets that can, or the states that can bet on NBA, NFL draft outcomes. Those guys were even money, but I think with what Jane Daniels did at the combine, I just don't have the confidence that he's going to be a guy that can beat out an even money guy like Drake May is. So Trey Palmer here, Chunk called it earlier. He was the one I was eyeing up. Of course, correlates with Baker, 4.561 here. He'll be our 6th wide receiver. Not the greatest 6th wide receiver at this point. Trey Palmer, he had some spike weeks last year, but the bigger upside for him would be if Godwin left in free agency, or if Mike Evans left and, or I guess if Godwin got traded or released and Evans left in free agency. But that's not happening now. You know what? I'm going to follow Travioli's take earlier about May and Hunter Henry. I think we can now get the other side here. So we have the presumptive Washington QB. We also have the presumptive New England QB. So let's just take a tight end with them and take Hunter Henry as our tight end too. So this team is nuts, but I think it works. Anthony Richardson, first QB off the board. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Baker Mayfield. A 4 QB build. One of them was a timeout. Admittedly, though, 13 picks after ADP for Baker Mayfield. Not bad. Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, Zach Moss at running back. Wide receiver, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, and Trey Palmer. So we have a double stack with Baker Mayfield, a single stack with Josh Downs, a single stack with one of Jane Daniels and Drake May, and then we also have Hunter Henry, who's going to get the other QB, and then David Njoku. So this works. Some missteps to get here, 100%. This was not a perfectly clean draft, but one of these guys is going to have, like, Hunter Henry's going to have one of these guys as QB. So we can live with it. And I could still get a free Juju Smith-Schuster. I could still get a free Devontae Parker if I want. Do I want to? It's a separate question. But if I do believe, which I do, that Jaden Daniels is a combo of Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, I have to fundamentally believe that, much like Houston last year, that Jaden Daniels is going to make the receivers better around him no matter who it is. And, you know, he's going to make these guys better. If that's who they give him at wide receiver, I think he's going to make them better. Obviously, the ceiling is going to be a little bit lower, but, you know. Oof, Alec Pierce. Oh, Pittman got signed. Good. 3 years, 70 million. Feels a little bit low. Honestly, like, not a bad price tag. I think Pittman kind of knew his place, though. Like, Pittman's number is a little bit elevated by just being like a volume wide receiver, getting those targets at not the highest 8 out in the world. I think he showed well last year with what he did with those targets, but I think that's a good match of like player and team. He probably could have held him up for more money or held somebody else up for more money. I think your hopes should be up for as a Colts fan. I mean, the defense is going to get better, and it was frankly, pretty spunky last year, even though it wasn't that talented. And then next year, you're probably getting one more big weapon for AR, maybe a boundary receiver to replace Alec Pierce, maybe a tight end. Though I do think they seem to like their tight end room enough that I'm not fully sold on them getting a Brock Bowers. Johnny Smith, by the way, going to pick 207. Hard to hate that as unequivocally an elevated version of Durham Smythe. Johnny Smith, probably one guy here. The lack of continuity for him is a big upgrade. Though you got to think Smythe's still going to be out there blocking a good amount. I think he's still under contract. Let's see. Durham Smythe spot track. Is spot track down? It seemed like he signed a 2-year deal. Yeah, I can't see the day. I can only look at the Google results because it looks like spot track is down. But if Durham Smythe is back, I do think that does kind of cap the ceiling for Jonnu Smith, just because Jonnu's probably not going to be out there running 40 routes a game. But, whatever. Still good enough. I take Juju around 20 in a Pat stack. Why not? With Juju, I took him a little bit last year for that logic too. And it's just the knee stuff was not great. He had like one okay game last year, but it really felt like his knee is at the end of its rope. So that's like the thing with Juju anywhere, but obviously around 20, like what are you taking him over? Not a whole lot. So I agree. Probably need to go 5 RBs, which never feels great. Yeah. I mean, I already have? Yeah, I already have 5. You could make the case I need one more, maybe at running back, but I think wide receiver, still going to probably chase that a little bit harder. We will see what comes back to us. It was shaping up to be a Sinnott team. I did see our pal Pete Overzet, though, falling for Ben Sinnott. I think he pronounced it really weirdly. He was like, Sinnott, I believe, or he gave it like a real elegance to it. But Ben Sinnott, there we go. I would have taken Kenneth Gainwell again, just for funsies. 3rd tight end, 7th wide receiver. Tyler Boyd probably gets an okay free agent outcome. DeMarcus Robinson already committed to go back to the Rams as the wide receiver 3. Not bad players there. Brendan Rice, my favorite of the rookies, and I cannot pass up the shiny new toy. Brendan Rice, come on down. His dad's Jerry Rice. I've talked about that enough here, but Brendan Rice, the main thing that stood out to me, again, watch a Caleb Williams highlight reel, especially those 30-minute ones. You're just going to see him feeding Brendan Rice over and over and over again. Brendan Rice quietly, so underappreciated for what he did last year. Brendan Rice is my pick for my 7th wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne goes to Stars, so we will not get him as our New England guy. I kind of think Noah Fant works as a tight end 3 here. Going to get a good free agent outcome as a guy who fits the classic breakout in a second contract profile. So Noah Fant's going to be my pick. Team so far with one more round to go. Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Baker Mayfield at QB. At running back, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, and Zach Moss. At wide receiver, Mike Evans, Hank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, Trey Palmer. These guys don't have headshots yet, the disrespect. And Brendan Rice at wide receiver. And a tight end, 3 tight ends, David Njoku, Hunter Henry, and Noah Fant. And if you guys missed it, if you're coming in from Peach Stream, I assume that just wrapped based on the views going up. Part of the logic here. So because we timed down Baker Mayfield. So that was accidental, but we already had Mike Evans, then increased the bet with Trey Palmer. But because we had Jaden Daniels and Drake May, I am now trying to play a New England outcome and trying to play a Washington outcome. The New England outcome comes with Hunter Henry. The Washington outcome comes with Terry McLaurin. And the assumption would be that Drake May and Jane Daniels, those are their 2 spots. So that's the way that I drafted here. Trey Franklin over Trey Palmer. Troy Franklin, yes. But they are similarly named enough that you can get away with that. But yes, Troy Franklin is much better than Trey Palmer, and that's why we're proud of Hoosier Devo for getting him. Glad I decided on Dylan over Gainwell for you. Well, the good news, the chat would have actually supported you on that one, Hoosier Devo, because the chat, for some reason, does not like Kenneth Gainwell. But I like him more, and either way, I didn't get either of them, so it doesn't matter. DeMarcus Robb, baby. Yeah, DeMarcus Robinson, look, doing well. Guys, we got one pick left here, so let's do a quick round of plugs. Subscribe down below, hit the like button. Again, your support means a lot here. This is basically my job right now. This and my startup probably are the two things I'm doing. So your support does matter a lot for me as a person. Hitting the like button helps me get seen by more people. And frankly, even if you hate the video, just not hitting the dislike button also helps out. But hit the like button if you can. Of course, Stochastic, I talked about it earlier, going to be playing the $4 150 max once again on there. Check their data and tools at Stochastic. Get 50% off using that promo code SPLASH, or check the link in the description. Same thing there, but you get 15% off all their data, all their Sims tools, all their lineup generators and stuff. If you've seen anything on Stochastic, you know how great that they do with all their products, and I use it for myself. And the $4 150 maxes in the NBA, I think, have been the biggest change that's for the positive in DFS in like a very long time. So if you want to get a shot at it, go do it. The NBA right now, getting close to that most chaotic part of the year, and I think that's where you have the best shot to win money because of the fact you have like a lot of 3K guys that go for 50 points, which ends up being a lot of fun. And the last little ad read here, probably the bet data has been crushing lately. And actually, I didn't do it before, but real fast, I'm going to switch brands. And I'm going to show you guys, here's the results for Probably's data just in content. And that actually includes me losing 3 units last Saturday because I bet parlays on Saturday for fun sometimes, not in content. But Probably data has been crushing. So check it out for yourself at probably.com/subscribe and use that promo code FIRST to get 50% off. And if you go sign up for Probably and you're a paying member, just sort by profitability and just take Probably score bets above 4. That's what I've been doing. There's no secret here. It's not like a fucking magical thing. You can just be getting in 50 bets a day that are that plus EV for yourself. And I would be recommending that. Even if it's just $5 units, just getting in a plus, a plentiful amount of bets. God, being sick really ruins my ability to come up with words on the fly. But Probably's been great, man. And I'm very proud of how we're doing here. Some key bills coming up and stuff. And we're also got a lot of investor meetings, so your signups matter now more than ever. That much I can tell you. So please do check it out. All right. I've hoarded. I've pushed through my 4th sore throat of the month. Eventually, my voice will be back to its pristine, dulcet qualities we all enjoy. So thank you guys for riding with me here. Of course, drafts Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. every day. And that is the promise, and we're fulfilling it so far. Whew. All right, there we go. Who's your Devo? Still a friend. That's all I can ever ask. The tilt sometimes turns to love and support, but I hope Who's Your Devo? Hope you got some useful feedback today. And again, that feedback too, if you're a paying member here on Splash Play, send me your teams. Happy to review them. Our guy M for Life Jay sent me a bunch. We talked through them. Our guy Ross last year had at least, kindly attributed his success last year in part to our team reviews and talking with him about everything. So that's the thing. If you are a paying member here on Splash Play for $4.99 a month, you can also send me up to 10 team reviews a month, and I'll give you like full reviews and talk about them thoroughly. Things I think you're doing wrong, things I think you can do better. And again, not just player take stuff, because player takes can only carry you so far. That's the dream, man. I fall asleep to YouTube content too. It's my dream that all of you do that. I fall asleep to ETR sometimes. They're really not one. Like, I don't know that I don't need Evan Silva whispering in my ear as I go to bed. But you can say the same for me, I suppose. 4-5-7-3 here. Could take Alec Pierce for our 8th wide receiver. A little more correlation. Jelani Woods, after that hamstring last year, I don't think we need as a tight end 4. I'm going to go Alec Pierce. Just too logical to take him. Dog shit pick last year. Had 1 spike week, though, in the back half of the season. That's about the case. That's basically it. Final team here for 30th draft here on March 11th, 2024. Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Baker Mayfield at QB, a 4 QB build at running back, Christian McCaffrey at the 2 spot, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, and Zach Moss. Probably could have used 1 more running back instead of Zach Moss, or rather, in addition to Zach Moss, because Zach Moss could get a good outcome, he could get a bad outcome. But I think the rest of these guys here, contingent value, if Mixon gets cut, if Kamara gets cut, these guys do well. If they don't, then we're going to, well, we'll see how it goes. Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, Trey Palmer, Brendan Rice, and Alec Pierce at wide receiver, and David Njoku, Hunter Henry, and Noah Fant at tight end. I think the team works well. I think it definitely some deviations. I would say this team is probably one of the more unique ones because of the pockets we hit, the moving around, the not being 0 RB to start. Getting McCaffrey at 2, frankly, probably makes us unique as well. So we did some weird shit here, but I do think it works. So that benefit, if you send your team to me, you don't get publicly shamed unless you're into that kind of thing. Look, I think for Who's Your Devo, to his credit, he took it well, but also like that's one thing I do think for a lot of these drafts that I don't do a good enough job spelling out. It's like yeah, I follow me on player takes. Like I think I do a great job unearthing them. But more than anything, the best thing to do is ADPs at value, not reaching for things, closing out your stacks. If you reach for things, you do one or two here and there. If you reach across every round, you're just hurting the value of your team. But I'll try to do a better job of pointing that out as we go. It's a learning process here, even with this being my second year of drafting very aggressively on stream, and of course, my fourth year overall of doing drafts on stream. So hit that like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button again. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Thank you to all the fine folks on the Squirt Squad who help us put the show on. You too can join this list by getting hit that join button down below, $4.99 a month. And of course, new drafts here every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. You guys know the promo, Stochastic. Underdog, double your deposit on there. Probably promo code SPLASH will save you 50%. And really, the betting data on there, this is the best betting data you are going to find in the world. I can guarantee you that. Like, I'm so proud of what we've done, and I want it to keep going, guys. So show us some love. Check it out for yourself. Back tomorrow with another draft at 11 a.m. and maybe even some regulars in there. Maybe they'll be doing some nice things. We'll find out. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Enjoy your days. And, of course, good luck. Bye.